Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Not So Perfect Show. So today I have with me Keith Sanchez sir. So the good thing about him is he has been working in a lot of government agencies throughout his career, and for the last 20 years he has worked with drug law enforcement from Mumbai for the last 20 years. So the idea behind having him on the show is a couple of things. One is to understand what are the different options that you guys can have from a government agency standpoint, especially if you are adventurous, if you have a lot of logical thinking, so that the job doesn't feel like a job. And we had an insightful chat with him before the show, and we realized there are a lot of avenues, which even I didn't know about. The second thing is also about understanding about the drug laws and as youth, what you should be aware of, right? So, good morning, sir. So, it's great to have you on this show today.
Thank you, Tom, and happy to be on the show. And hello to all you viewers there. I hope I'm going to be, whatever I speak is going to be helpful to you all. So take it on.
So, sir, if you can start with your background, you mentioned that you were in a lot of different government departments. So, throughout your career.
Yeah, actually I started off as an inspector in the Central Excise and Customs. And then, which is now actually the GST department. I was mostly in that service, mostly in investigative work called the intelligence setup of the Central Excise, where we used to investigate a lot of cases. Having tasted first blood in there, I decided I need to upgrade in investigation. So I decided why not get into drug law enforcement. It's at that time that I thought that it's about time I moved to NCB, the Narcotics Control Bureau at Mumbai.
And this was in which year?
1986.
1986. So many of them probably were not even born back then.
Yeah. So out of a total service of 39 plus years, I had done around 19 to 20 years in drug law enforcement. So 20 years of mine was in Central Excise, Marine Customs, and the remaining 20 was mostly in drug law enforcement.
And these are all like roles with a lot of investigations.
Yeah, basically one would think that tax collection and everything is a very mediocre and mundane job, but it's not so, because it gives you an opportunity. Right. An opportunity to these jobs has three great basic facets. First thing, you learn to assess. Right. Secondly, you learn to adjudicate, means pass a judgment. And third thing is you learn to investigate. So unlike a police job, these jobs give you the avenues to do all these three things at one time. You understand? And you come out as a fully well-formed officer out of that.
So when we all think about government jobs, right, especially in tax or anything to do with legal matters, it's too much of paperwork. Is that how the jobs are, or?
See, all today the government has digitalized most of the work. So assessment work is totally digitalized. Adjudication work now is always there, because a lot of cases come up by adjudication. Right. So therefore there will always be adjudication. But when we talk of investigations, yes, there's a work, but it is challenging for those youngsters who are out there who really are interested in investigating. I mean, like an investigator, one would think an investigator is somebody who is like a police officer who goes after criminals and drug traffickers and terrorists and everything. But the real investigation, also so important, is financial investigation, because as you've seen lately, there are huge scams which are perpetrated in our country and across the world. And investigating those scams, the source of those starts either in income tax, Central Excise, or Customs. Right. So that's where the real investigation starts. Then also a guy who's really investigated in making cases, investigating. I think these financial investigations are as important as any other criminal investigation. So it gives a huge opportunity for youngsters who have that adventure in them to go for these type of jobs.
So many a times when we look at, the youngsters look at the government jobs, they feel that at least the starting salaries or the salaries throughout their career is not going to be that great compared to a private sector.
I would not know the comparative rates. I mean, for a particular qualification, what would be the what would the private sector offer? But this I know about the government sector. Anybody see, there are two types of categories in government service. One is the ministerial cadre, which are mostly clerical cadre, and then there is the executive cadre. It starts with the level of an inspector upwards and goes right up to a commissioner, chief commissioner, and all that. So when you join into in an executive this thing, the salaries are pretty good, and considering that you're in a government job, you're secure. Your life is secure. Nobody is going to throw you out unless you've done something wrong. And tomorrow when you retire, you have a very good pension. So excellent pensions are there. Yes, pensions are excellent, and they will last you for your lifetime. You have excellent medical benefits now. So from that perspective, a lot has changed in the government's salaries and other perks and everything. And every year, the government does upgrade your salary with the DA and all, DA increases and all.
So this, the exams, like all these different units that you mentioned, all of them have different kinds of exams which people are not aware of, or?
See, for the central excise customs, I'm saying central excise, for GST, customs and income tax, there is a combined graduate level exam. You understand? And there are a lot of training centers across the country now who are training people in that. They have coaching classes for that, for coaching boys, because the exam is quite competitive, and there are a lot of guides available for youngsters to. In every government bookshop or publications, you will get the best guides, and you should go through it, and if you do well, you're selected. And it is a little competitive. Then the next higher level that you can enter, there are two levels of entry. One is in the staff selection services, where you do the combined graduate level exam, and then one is the IS and allied services. So that also is quite competitive. So for both, you got to work hard, study, and you can get into a job. It's not so difficult as people think. And most of things are the exams are what you call objective type and all. There's no negative marking as far as I know.
So it could be probably easier than the CAT exams and all that people go after.
And apart from this combined graduate level exams, there are avenues like you can get into IB. There are Intelligence Bureau. They also put out advertisements. Then there is the RAW, Research and Analysis Wing. Right. Now they will not advertise it as Research and Analysis Wing. They will just say Cabinet Secretariat posts. Okay. That's a cover for that, because that's a secret organization. So any advertisement coming for Cabinet Secretariat, then people should apply for that. Then there is the defense. I would say the defense today are in India's high tech. Whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force or Coast Guard, it is high tech. Youngsters who have adventure in their hearts and all, and they really want, and great jobs, great work, great salaries, a lot of respect in the defense forces. Then there's the next level is the paramilitary forces. Now paramilitary forces comprise Border Security Force, Indo-Tibetan Border Patrol, then you have CISF, CRPF. All these are excellent organizations, and then there is an unheard of, which very few people know about it. It's called the Sashastra Sena Bal, or SSB for short. Right. That is a counter-intelligence department that works only mostly in the border areas.
SSB? SSB. So that the name sounds like some kind of a political party.
Yes. But it is actually Sashastra Sena Bal.
So counter-intelligence at the border areas.
Counter-intelligence mostly in the border areas. So these are very challenging. Youngsters got adventure. Then these are the jobs for a youngster who seeks adventure in his life and satisfaction in having done something, for the country.
Right. So one of the things that, at least a lot of us have limited understanding of raw IB. In a sense, we look at it as a lot of action-oriented, dangerous kind of jobs. Is it like that, or?
Look, it is said that 100,000 soldiers who go to war, all don't die. Just a small percentage of them die. You understand? And same way, the casualty is same for all jobs which have this risk. Like if you want to be a airline pilot or a steward or anything, that's risky also. So risks are all over. You can walk on the road and get hit by a bus or a train or anything. So one should not look at the risk and get scared, because I believe that when your number is up and you got to go, you got to go. It does not mean whether you can run, but you can't hide. So this is life, and you got to accept, and with courage, join these forces. These are best organized. Don't look at the risk. Unless your numbers up, nothing is going to happen. Yeah.
So one other thing that when people look at these kind of jobs, it means like you stay away from the family for a really long time because you're undercover or things like that. Is that?
See, it's like in the intelligence agencies and all, they are highly secretive jobs. Sometimes the families don't know also who they are also and what they do. So, and that's the truth, and that's good for the country and good for the agency also. But in an organization like Customs Excise, GST and all, and even NCB and all, the people know, because these are open law enforcement jobs. They are not intelligence agencies. You understand? So you have to demarcate before the intelligence and law enforcement and tax departments.
So, and you also, you mentioned about ITBP, right? That is the
Indo-Tibetan Border Patrol.
So in that, it's not only like Indo-Tibet, it's like,
these are paramilitary. They are top class commandos, one of the best in the world. You understand? And they are used mostly in the border areas. But the best of the best normally are posted in our foreign missions to guard the missions and everything. And a lot of them, I think, I have had a feedback that a lot of these people coming from such organizations are used, especially defense and paramilitary, are used as bodyguards today with the really powerful people, big business people and everything. So they can come on the job there, or they can, after the tenure is over, they can go private and join the security agencies. There's high paying jobs.
Oh yeah, I understand. So, so the misconception like a lot of us had is this border security is only for the borders. So even for diplomatic missions, and
they pick up the best of the because these people are highly trained, and a lot of the VIP security you see today along the central ministers and the prime ministers and all our VIPs, they are mostly from these services. You'll see them there with suits and everything, and earphones and everything, and a bulge in their coat and everything. Those are all mostly come from the defense or from such paramilitary organizations.
So now coming back to your tenure at NCB, so how was it like? Like what's the day like?
It was great actually, because I grew up on books like all these Western novels and all the James Bond and all those stuff and all. See, as you're growing up in those days, we had no TV, we had nothing. Right? We only had radio, but we had books, and so we read, and we visualized ourselves wanting to do that and be that and all. So as an investigator, I cut my teeth in the department of GST. But then I said I needed something more, and I wanted to do real investigations. And so I got an opportunity to go on a deputation to the NCB. And I realized my dream, my ambitions. We work like a lot of what you see in Western movies on crime and everything. Really doesn't, the cops and all really don't do that. You understand? Because I've had opportunities to work with in the NCB, to work with foreign police officers and everything, and they say no, it's not like that. But the movies has to dramatize it larger than life. But don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that we don't do it. We do those jobs. You understand? We really do those jobs, and removing the drama and all the adventure there is a lot of thrill You're going after the kill, you're trailing somebody, you're stalking somebody, you're keeping surveillance, all type of surveillance, electronic surveillance, visual surveillance, all these things, which I think youngsters would only want to do, who really have it in them. So these jobs give you that opportunity.
So yeah, every day is like a new.
Every day is a challenge. You get up in the morning and you don't know what information you're going to get, what intelligence is going to come your way, or which informant is going to call you early in the morning or late in the night and says we need to talk, and then that's the challenge. Then your blood starts racing from there. That anxiousness to work on what's coming now, and then suddenly you have an opportunity to get into a case and pick up people, make the arrest and everything. That's pretty satisfying. I mean, it's a type of an adrenaline rush. You understand?
Right. So, but aren't you like I'll not say afraid, but I don't know, scared to some extent, because you're dealing with the real bad guys, right? The guys with drugs and...
See, there are situations which we have come across, like there was a time we had to climb the pipes of a building to reach to the flat. Sometimes we had to kick open the doors. A lot of those things had to happen to get to make a case. Sometimes there is violence in our raids and everything, but that is only because they choose to escape. Right. You understand? Or they choose to destroy the evidence and that's violence and all. That's all acceptable. But then the bigger threat comes from the underworld. You see, the thing is that the underworld is like this. We are doing our job, you are doing our job. So as long as you don't come onto our side and you are doing your job, it's fine with us. We have no problem. We are doing whatever chori we are doing, it's your job to catch us. That's fine, we understand that. You are doing your job. But the day you get involved with us, then now you are moved on to our side of the fence. Right. So then our laws is applicable to you.
In the sense, the day
if you betray us, then you are in trouble. Because you are no longer an officer now, you are working for us.
If you joined, if you are a corrupt officer.
Yeah, so if you don't do that, they won't bother you, they won't threaten you, they won't do a thing, because these people also understand we are doing our job. Right. They really won't want to get into...
So if you go into the corrupt part...
Yeah, if you are involved with them for whatever way, need not be corruption or anything, so many other wrong things you can do. And then, I mean, you jumped over the fence onto their side, then their laws are applicable to you. And you have to face it. But when you are not involved with them and you really don't give a damn about what they are doing, but you are doing your job, right? They wouldn't bother. They said, you do your job, we are doing our job. Our job is to do chori, our job is to do catch us, fine. Right. That we are okay with it.
So they respect the roles that...
Yeah, I mean, the big underworld, they do that. They don't. Second thing is, you should not make your job a personal vendetta. See, there is a big danger, and sometimes when you make it a personal vendetta, even though you are not on their side, but you are personally targeting one guy and going after him, I think that's when you can get threats and retribution, because he'll also make it a personal thing too. Oh, you're now making it personal. Well, let's make it personal then. If that's the route you want to go, well, I can play that also. So our officer has to be a little careful on that thing and just do your job professionally. And nothing can happen to you. There's no risk. But as I told you, risk is there in the raid and this and that. That's acceptable.
In all the kind of job.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen many a time. So many of our officers are assaulted.
Assaulted in the sense?
Yeah, assaulted. By the type you're going to raid. Sometimes a lot of things happen there. But it's fine. If you're used to, you should be ready to fight.
And that rush to...
Yeah. But you know, the biggest advantage we have here is we are the guys who are right. And psychologically they are on the back foot, they know they are scared. Right. Yeah. But we are not, and if you are scared, they can understand you are scared. Right. There is a primal instinct between both of us going. Like they can know the cop is scared or something is scared, so he will immediately react with you. But if you show no fear, he gets scared because he knows you're the law and he's not he's the outlaw. Right. So you have that advantage at that particular time to make it known to him. Look, this is it, right? So then
So you have a psychological advantage.
yeah, and if you're not, and in the raid you got to be very careful. Stay far away from them if you have a weapon and this and that. Because they can use your weapon against you. So you got to be very careful. A lot of things are there.
And also the drug scenario in India, right? At least I've heard of cases, like a lot of cases coming out of Punjab and some pockets in India.
Oh, that Urta Punjab, what you're trying to...
Yeah, we have only those knowledge, right? News and whatever we get from the media. But what do you think, like India's case when it comes to, drugs?
You see, I'll tell you something. This drug wars between countries was being waged from in pre-independence time. Like if you must have heard about the opium wars, if you Google it, you'll get an idea. The opium wars was done by the British. They could not conquer China.
Okay.
So what they did, they decided to send a lot of opium to the China, make the youth addicts.
Got it.
You understand? And over a period of time, conquer China. It didn't work. It backfired. So what happened is when the Indo-China war broke out, the Chinese used the same thing on all the soldiers who went to fight in Vietnam. Most of them came back as drug addicts to the US. You see?
Got it.
The third instance I have seen is coming to this Urta Punjab thing. The background is this, is that even Pakistan is trying to adopt that thing and trying to, get our youth on the borders addicted to, especially Punjab, addicted to heroin and opium. So that they can, that was the whole game plan of Pakistan. But these things don't work. Yeah, but the funny thing is that it did work with the Chinese against the Americans soldiers. And you know that after the Americans came out of the Vietnam War, there was a huge addiction problem in the US, and which is still going on. It has not stopped or abated. So these are the things which happen. Countries have tried to wage opium wars against each other. But now coming to the larger scene or drug scene. See, many people think that there are two aspects, the Narcotics NDPS Act, Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1985, which was enacted in India in 1985. It has two objectives. Going by the law of economics, the law is on demand and supply. Unless there is a demand, there will be no supply. Right. You understand? So, taking cognizance of these facts and the fact that we have to now deal with demand and supply. So, the demand is also part of the NDPS Act. Right. Now, what is a demand? Is to reduce the demand. You understand? So, by reducing demand, there's a whole chapter in the NDPS Act which is dealing with this part. Right. And the money which the government gets from sale of confiscated properties of drug traffickers, and also by grant by Parliament, a lot of money is given into all these de-addiction programs which are being held across the country. Means sensitizing children in colleges and this and that, de-addiction rehabilitation programs and all government hospitals, and all the funds come from that particular thing. The idea is to reduce the demand. Understood. You understand? The supply reduction side is the law enforcement. Understood. We try to stop the supply. Understood. So these are two aspects which are covered in the NDPS Act, and the government deals with both.
So, suppose if the youth, someone reaches out to someone else for asking for drugs, so the guy who reaches out is like responsible as well, like?
Yeah, of course he'll be caught. Because there's again, why did you demand? Because if you didn't demand, we wouldn't have a problem in the first place.
But he has not taken it. He has not purchased it yet. Only sent some message and.
It depends on the investigation. When both are caught, what comes out in black and white, what he says and what he says. You understand? Now dealing with this addiction problem, what is the genesis of addiction? A lot of people, I've heard people saying, oh, that we have done a lot of enforcement activity across the city and now the drug trafficking has reduced. That is a big fallacy. Because when any officer at any level makes such a statement, it's as if saying you're playing God's role. See, God has made our bodies in such a way that we are prone to addictions. Right? I can tell you something. You are used to your morning cup of coffee. Is it right or wrong?
Kind of, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Can you do without it in the morning? Can you start your day without that? Yeah. Think about it. That is a psychological dependence and also a physical dependence. Can you stop eating sweets? Think about it. You can't.
That relates with me, so.
No, I'm telling you. I'm not speaking to you. This is addressed to all your viewers. I'm coming on the point of addiction. Right. That when you say that we have killed drug trafficking, you're saying you're killed demand, right. Supply. But what about the demand? And the supply as long as that there is a demand, supply will find underground routes. Right. So when you hit a guy on top, he learns how your modus operandi, how you caught him, he'll move deeper down and deeper and deeper. And they use the dark net, you understand, the dark web or whatever you'll call it. There are so many cases across the world, including India, where the dark net was used for trafficking or so many criminal activities. So people are finding avenues to meet the demand. So to say that we have stopped reduced drug trafficking is a big mistake, because demand has not been reduced. You see, how can you change the demand? I'll tell you one situation. If you take a particular antibiotic, a doctor gives you say 200 mg antibiotic. After 3 days of dosage, your sickness has not gone away. What does he do? He increases it to 500 mg. Right. Because your body is, even the virus has developed resistance to that. 200. The virus in your body is able to withstand 200 mg. Right. And your body has become tolerant to it, so you need 500 milligram right. to deal with that. You understand? And what happens, another thing, cigarettes, tobacco. Today you can start with when you start in your college smoking a cigarette, you'll do it 1 or 2 cigarettes a day. Then you progress up to a packet or 2 or even 3 packets a day. Right. Because your body develops tolerance after addiction. See, there are 2 types of addiction. One is physical dependence, right. One is psychological dependence. Right. So your body develops both these things. As long as it's in physical stage up to a short 4 or 5 cigarettes a day, you can withdraw yourself. But when it comes to your body getting used to a packet or 2 packets a day, your psychological dependence kicks in. And then to get rid of these 2 aspects is very, very difficult. You cannot get it out of yourself. I'm talking of cigarettes or tobacco. Here you're talking of alcohol. Same thing, you start on a peg or 2 and you find after some time you need half a bottle. Right. So this is addiction and dependence. So when you're talking of drugs, it is even more serious. Right. It is even more addictive, like cocaine is highly addictive. Good. So so our bodies are made that way. So how can somebody play God and say, oh, we are finished with right. Because the demand you have not done with. And you cannot get that reduced demand unless it's for each individual who is addicted to that drugs or whatever he is addicted to, get rid of it.
And how do people at least in your work with NCB, you must have seen, how do people fall into this, like through friends or?
Yeah, before that I'd like to tell you that having told you about what addiction is, that officers who are engaged in drug law enforcement across this country should realize that unless they can kill the demand, supply will take place, and it will take place through their own routes, and then that itself poses a challenge to adventurous officers now to dig out those routes, how the supply routes are being used to reach the points of demand. Understand? Now coming to the point of how children get addicted. Now there is some misunderstanding that the general public that it's the rich people who are children who are spoiled and who are using drugs. I think that's totally wrong, because the rich people's children have their own set of psychological, emotional problems, maybe because not proper parental attention to their growing up years and all that, because parents are so hyper busy and all that, and too much of wealth and distraction with the child, that also plays its role in a lot of these children succumbing to drug addiction. But if you look at the lower level people, just as these children also richer people's children are trying to seek a way out of this situation they are facing. Similarly, the poor children, the people, street people and everything, poor people, they are going through miserable lives. They have their own set of issues which are so pathetic, and also, it's not good for them to live that life. And they also aspire for a better life, and they can't do it. And they cannot achieve their dreams and ambitions also. Like they also would like to have the best in the world, and they're not able. They have also problems in their families and everything. So they also succumb to addiction. So you will see a lot of addiction in across the spectrum of our classes. So whether you're rich, middle class, upper middle class, or super wealthy class, there is no single thing to say that only this class's children are involved. And this all starts basically when the child is up to the 10th standard, in India, I'm talking about India, that he is under some proper control of the school and the parents and everything. They wear a uniform, everything. A uniform has a psychological effect on them, that they are now in a particular uniform. They have to, and school also monitors their attendance, this, that and everything. But when they step into 11th standard, you see, that is when the trouble starts, because you can hear them saying, "Oh, from next day we don't have to wear a uniform."
The freedom.
See, that word, that statement is a very potential statement, because a lot of them are actually expressing their freedom from sort of which they visualize as, constrained atmospheres in school and home. So now they are in colleges, nobody monitors the way school children are monitored, and then they are dressed in best of fashions and this and that and everything, and then they meet all the wrong company. And peer pressure has to play. When children have a weak emotional or psychological state of mind, you see, they succumb to the people who are stronger state of mind, and they always want to be. They're not able to stand on their own, or hold their own in growing up years. They always want to latch on to a group, to seek an identity from themselves. Otherwise, they feel very lost and alone in a college and everything, where nobody gives a damn about anybody. So you try to be a part of a tribe, rightly as you put it. And what happens if that tribe is a bad tribe? If that group is one tribe, you see what happens. And then there's a time which comes, like, especially with boys, I don't know, with girls also now. Come on, you be a man, or be a big guy and come and have a smoke and all. Oh, you don't be with us and all. Oh, you're a kid, don't join us and all. That has a psychological effect on the weak minds in the children, you understand? And then they suddenly start with cigarettes, and the cigarettes are the gateway to the bigger drugs. Remember that. With cigarettes and tobacco, these are gateway drugs. From there you can move on to the bigger drug and addiction, like alcohol and all other things. Then you want to be in with them with your parties. Then after the groups College groups come the parties with alcohol, parties are with drugs and everything. And inexorably they don't even know it. There's a saying in the underworld, the drug addicts across the world also, that I don't know when this monkey got on my back. What is the monkey? The addiction. Now they're regretting, but they can't get rid of it. So I try to apply it to our Indian way of thinking, culture. You have the Chandamama tales.
Right.
You have Vikram and Vetal, don't you?
Right.
Now, Vetal his legs are around Vikram's neck.
Right.
And until Vikram can answer the riddle,
Right.
which Vetal gives him,
Right.
he's not going to get off his neck.
Right.
So he's wrapped his legs tightly around Vetal's neck. So, looking at from that perspective, none of our youngsters who are addicts have the answer to the riddle of how to get that monkey off their back.
So rehab and all doesn't help?
Rehab, see, a lot of people say, oh, rehab is, they try to do their best. But the success rate which I talk with some of the rehab people, I may be wrong, I don't know. The statistics in those days was success rate was 5 to 6 or 7% success rate. Most of them would go back. And they would go back also because in the first place, you see, if a family has a child who's addicted, the first thing they'll try to sweep it under the carpet because of their prestige, their image and this and that and everything. And to make matters worse, they start admonishing the child, not understanding that he has a situation in his head. We need to counsel him and work with him. They keep putting him down and comparing him to the neighbor child who's successful and doing well. Parents make all the mistakes which are required at that time. The first thing they brush it under the carpet. That's the big mistake. Instead of seeking advice, counsel, medical advice, counseling advice, psychiatric advice, psychological advice, instead of doing that and being open about it and helping that child, they're actually pushing the child further into it. So what happens here is now that child has become an addict and then he'll do all sorts of things and somehow he can't kick the habit. So what he does, they put him into rehab because they got money.
Right.
The poor people forget about rehab. They may go to a government hospital and they come out, but they are facing the same situation. Likewise, when this child goes into the rehab, he comes back, his parents are not helpful at all. For some time they will try to understand, tolerate him, and then they'll revert back to old ways with him or her and all. And then the child says that that time the child realizes, oh, I'm 2-3 years back, I've lost 2-3 years of my life, all my colleagues have gone ahead, they've become engineers, doctors, and I'm nothing.
Understood.
And then that pushes them back into drugs. Oh, now it's better, so I go back into drugs. There's no help. Post-rehab help is not there from the family, not from any other source. So the children always go back. The success rate is about very less. So I think it's a problem which we are facing today.
So one of the key takeaways I take from this segment is the fact that your friends trigger your ego, saying be a man or you can't join us, and that's the first step to probably getting addicted, at least to cigarettes. And cigarettes are the gateway to bigger things down the road. So I think the youth should know that it's better to walk away at the first time itself than taking that one puff, which forces you or rather sets you up for future kind of addictions.
I think that would be, I think a lot has to do with your family upbringing also. And parents need to be friends to their children. Not parents, friends. So that space, empty space which the child has to be filled in. They need friends. They don't need a parent to tell them, yo, you're wrong, you're right. There can be a gentle persuasion also. You don't have to be, regimenting kids and all. Today's kids rebel against that. Today's children rebel. And considering today that we have so much of distraction.
Right.
I mean, you have the world on your phone. You don't need a TV.
Right.
The world is on your phone. You know what's happening. And generally, You try to ape Hollywood, Bollywood. Those things don't happen in real life. They're just giving you a larger than life story or drama so that you'll watch to get your attention. But that's not happening in real life. But children get carried away with all that, and this is, how do you deal with a situation like this? I mean, considering this situation, it is imperative for parents to be more careful with their children. Understand? Yeah.
And I think that is happening, like at least my generation, and I'm older than a lot of my viewers. Even I felt my parents were more of friends. They didn't kind of, but their parents, of course, it was highly kind of regimented military style approach. But our generation has loosened up a lot more.
Yeah. So hopefully, your people of your generation will bring up your children accordingly. But this is the situation we are facing today.
So from a law perspective, right? So suppose I'm out with my friends and my friend is carrying drugs. Am I in trouble if someone catches?
No, you're not in trouble prima facie. But what happens is that if suppose there's a 4-5 people caught together and one is caught carrying drugs. It's for the investigating officer who's detained you all. I won't say arrested you all. He's detained you all for investigation. That he will have to investigate and see each of your what roles you'll had regarding that drug and regarding that person. You understand? And here we come to a question of subjective satisfaction. The officer, investigating officer, has to have a subjective satisfaction, his subjective satisfaction, that these people are involved and these people are not involved. You understand? Now there again we come to the quality of the officer. The officer needs to work by his conscience. You understand? And by his gut feeling. You understand? Because the actual people who traffic, they are liars. They tell lies. They will try to avoid arrest and everything. So, there again, if you make a wrongful arrest, you must realize that you are destroying lives. You are destroying lives because you made a wrongful arrest. You can't put somebody in just because he is part of a group and one person is caught with it.
So I think, before I jump into the next question, so suppose you land up in a party of 15-20 people and 10 of them are carrying drugs, then you are in really bad spot. The reason I'm asking this is, a lot of our viewers go with friends. They are aware that these friends are drug addicts or are carrying drugs, but they just go for the party. They can't say a no to the friend. And suppose if a raid happens, if they get caught, it's a bad trouble for them.
In a party, some may be aware that XYZ is trafficking drug or using drugs. All are not involved with that. Then there are friends of friends who are invited to the party. Now that person really doesn't know anything what is happening. But like in the recent, you would have seen that the case where the NCB had picked up a lot of, they picked up everybody who was on that cruise line. They had to investigate it to see, they did right because they had to investigate who all were involved with that. And they didn't arrest anybody, all of them. A few, they felt at that time, as I said, subjective satisfaction. They arrested this thing, and neither I nor anybody can sit and, judge that officer for what he's done. Because at that particular time, he must have had a subjective satisfaction that, yes, maybe these are involved. You understand? So he made the arrest. And then it is for the court to prove or disprove.
So it kind of destroys life. It kind of...
It does. So therefore I said, one has to be very, very careful, an officer. He has to first go, I would not say, first his gut feeling is important. And his conscience is overall very important, that you cannot put an innocent child into, or any innocent person also, adult also, into a situation. First of all, coming for an interrogation by any law enforcement officer is the biggest traumatic experience which anyone can undergo, which is a nightmare. Yeah, and then if an innocent person you put in, that is, it's actually, though you're not doing it, but you're actually destroying his life. But I have noticed that by and large, It doesn't happen that innocent people are put in. Some cases may happen few here and there. By and large, no enforcement officer will do that, whether police or anybody. They don't do that.
And so, again, coming back to what I'm trying to convey to my viewers is, if there are parties where there are chances of people being with drugs and all, it's better to stay away.
How would you know? How would one know that there's drugs going to be? And even in a party, which I've also my personal experience I've seen, I've been in those parties undercover, that the distribution of drugs mostly is very covert. Covert means very surreptitiously. So even I, as a young boy, as a 21, 22, what would I know what they are going into the other room for? What they are going into the bathroom for? How would I know? Maybe he's saying he's going for a smoke or something. You understand? How would you know? So that is the risk. Too bad you're in the wrong time.
So it depends a lot on your luck.
Oh yeah, it's your luck. Yeah. And it depends on your forthrightness also to be honest and say, no, I don't know anything about this. And if you're involved, look, if you're involved, just because your phone number is on his number, that guy doesn't mean you're involved.
Right.
Understand?
And what are the punishments like?
Punishments, see, there are three quantities there. One is a small quantity, one is middle quantity, and one is large commercial quantity, large quantity. For small quantities, the thing is up to 6 months.
And it's on record, so it's your career is kind of...
But you'll be arrested. But you may get bail. You may get bail. Then come the middle quantity. There, the punishment is up to 10 years. It's up to the judge to give you, say, from 1 year or 6 months to 10 years. It's up to him, depending on the severity of the case and the quantity of the drugs and your role played. He may say, chalo, I'm giving you 1 year. I may give you 10 years. But when you go to large or commercial quantity, your minimum is 10 years.
Minimum is 10 years.
Minimum is 10 years. You will never get bail till your trial is ended. And for your second conviction, not arrest. If you are convicted once, you have done 10 years or 12 years and you come out. Now why I said 12 years? Because apart from the 10 years, you got to pay some 2 lakh fine. If you can't pay the 2 lakh fine, you do 2 years more. So either you're convicted for 10 or 12 years, you complete your sentence, you come out, again you are arrested, right? You come out and do the same thing, you are arrested, then you are being tried for the death sentence.
Death sentence?
Yes, the second conviction is death. But that has not been done so far, you understand? Somehow I don't know, the courts, so far I have not come across, maybe, I don't know.
So in your line of, in drug law enforcement, don't you have political pressures and all that coming in?
See, normally politicians don't interfere in this particular field because they don't want to get involved, associate with any drug trafficker or come in to help him or anything if he is this thing. Even if that politician may or may not be involved with the drug trafficker financially or whatever, in whatever way, or giving him some support, he will never come forward and make this thing. We can't say all that, but they will never do that. But there is no pressure as such, because nobody will want to come to help a drug trafficker and put pressure on the officer.
So it's not like how we see in the movies and all, political pressures coming in.
No, but there are, you see, look at it, one thing. The powers that the officer in drug law enforcement, whether it's police, customs, under the NDPS Act, you have powers to search anybody in a public space, like a railway station, a bus stop, or on the road, without a warrant. You can also search anybody's house without a warrant, day and night. But there are certain things, after that you got to put up a note saying why. You must have, when you do that, justification, and put it up to 2-3 levels of senior officer, why you did it, plus within 24 hours you got to do it. So considering that we have these immense powers, officers use it very judicially, they don't overreach. But there is always the possibility that officers can be approached by the opposite gang to plant a drug or somebody, or to incriminate another person from the other gang on this and all, to settle scores. And central services like NCB, Custom, DRI, They don't do that. I don't know about the police because I don't belong to that department. But basically, we don't do that. So it can't be done because all our investigations there's an oversight over these investigations right up to Delhi.
But the way the media portrays it is like, you know,
Media is like a movie drama. No? They want drama. They want attention. Because after all, it's a TV medium. No? They want they want eyeballs. The number of eyeballs, the TRP goes up. So you have to keep on imagining things and saying things and all. These things don't work like that. No?
Now coming to the media part of it, you know, I watched your show, The Powder, on Netflix. So if you can throw us a little light, how did you go about, like after retirement you thought of?
No, it was not after retirement. Back when I was in service, towards the end of my service, I was approached by Yashraj Studios. They were searching for a protagonist for a TV serial. They needed a profile of a protagonist for a TV serial on drugs, and that serial was titled Powder. So they finally went around all departments, and finally they thought I am the person on whom they can profile the protagonist. So I cooperated with them, and he did that. I was debriefed by their writer-director, and some facets of my life and aspects of my life and my service and NCB and everything was taken, and it was made into this TV serial. So the role of my role is essayed by Manish Tiwari. He plays the role of Superintendent Usman Ali in Powder. So he essays my role actually, and I think it got good reviews.
So frankly, I didn't know about the show, but while we were researching about you, we came across and we watched it. It's fabulous. So I was just thinking, like, there was a scene where Usman Ali is fighting a drug lord and the car is set on fire and he's rolling on all that happens?
Well, it sometimes happens. It happens sometimes. It does happen. Though it is dramatized, because you need to dramatize for the content. But as I told you, I worked with the DA.
The DA of the US?
Yeah, the DA, Drug Enforcement Administration officers. See, NCB is a nodal unit. NCB liaises with the cross law enforcement agencies, drug law enforcement agencies across the world. Previously, there was no NCB, and they used to, CBI was the nodal agency. But they wanted a separate for drug nodal agency, so NCB was tasked with that. So having said that, a lot of those officers from the West German police, at that time it was West German, then from the Australian police, the British Customs, the US Drug Enforcement Administration, we have worked with those officers on many cases. NCB also continues to work with those officers in several large operations across the world. It spans several continents. So large drug operations, big gangs are brought down. NCB has worked very well with these things. So as during my interaction with these officers, I also asked them, is it what we see, Hollywood movies, is it true to life? They said, no, it doesn't happen that way.
They also have a toned down version.
We also have a toned down, like they also have a toned down thing. But surely it says that Hollywood builds up on what we do. So we do those things, but not the way it is dramatized. To put it very clearly.
So because when we look at those, as a career, I would never join such a risky profession. But yeah, like you said, there's risk in everything that you do. But the adventurous part, like I've also grown up on Robert Ludlum books, all those books, placed myself in those stories. So thinking about it, maybe as a career option, it would have been great. And also the boring part, like when we visualize government offices, it's a lot of political pressure, a lot of government, this paperwork, and a lot of mess like that. But you give a different perspective.
No, but now if you go and visit any tax office, you'll hardly see any records. Believe me, you go and visit any office, you hardly see any records because everything is digitalized now.
Understood.
Everything is digitalized. It's only when we have a case that we go in, and what are we going to see is their computers, because everything digitalized. And some of their records.
Our view of that is like I've done everything online.
Lot of change. I don't know about state government, but surely central government digitalized. Everything is on computer.
So, any message that you want to leave to youngsters who are watching this episode?
Yeah, for all you listeners out there, youngsters, adults, all you folks, my advice to you is simple. If youngsters are interested, they got the hunter's experience, the hunting, you want to take down your prey, go for these jobs. The jobs in the defense, the paramilitary forces, tax departments, police, and all the intelligence organizations like NCB, DRI, RAW, IB, and you will meet your requirements, your aspirations. And salaries are good. It's a secure job, safe job. You've got good retirement benefits. You've got good medical benefits, even post-retirement. There is a saying in government circles. They say, when you leave, you come out of your mother's womb, your connection with your physical connection is severed because when they cut the umbilical cord. But when you join the government department, the umbilical cord is never severed because it takes care of you till you die. So that's the greatest advantage of a government service. So go for it. There's a challenge there out there for you guys to see. For all the youngsters who seek escape from whatever they are facing, go and swim, go and play sports, but don't get into drugs and don't get controlled and manipulated by other people. And listen to your parents, because they are the only persons who are concerned with your well-being and nobody else. So my advice to adults and parents also is to be a friend to your children and don't allow their friend to take that space. You should take that space and guide them, and they will certainly, it will help in making them good human beings and good citizens. Thank you.
Also, a lot of learnings that we have had from this discussion. So, the different roles, okay, like, and what I liked about those roles is they're adventurous, right? I never knew about these roles, right? Maybe I'd have seriously considered at least, one of them like NCB or the tax, because I like finance, I like, adventure. So, even the way Sir put up that how GST roles can also be, adventurous, because actually you are investigating. You're using the logic, you can be like the Sherlock Holmes. What you see on the TV, you can be in real life. So, multiple roles that Sir mentioned about, obviously our armed forces, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, paramilitary, ITBP, then SSB. I never heard of that ever, right? And I consider myself as pretty well educated, but I never heard of that. If I'd have read it somewhere, I'd have thought it's some political party, to be honest. So that is what? Sashastra Sena Bal, which is like counterintelligence on the border, in the border. Like sounds really good, and the career options after that, you can also start your own a bodyguard agency or be a bodyguard for the top industrialist or a VIP in India, which itself is very well paying. You can we'll try and search and put few articles in our comments as well to tell you about those career options. So that is one. Now the second part of drug addiction, the biggest thing, like at least what insight I got is they play to your ego. When your friend says that be a man or take this one puff, right, or then will you join a group, walk away. It's good to walk away than regretting the rest of your life, because you will regret probably once you are in it after 5 years, after 10 years, and you can't get out of it. You can't get the monkey off your back, right? So walk away, because it's not, and you may feel that you are just smoking, right? But like Sir said, cigarette is the gateway drug. It opens the door to the other things. So why fall for it, right? And in drugs, if you get into drugs, it's horribly bad. And if you get caught, your career is over to a great extent, right? And the rehab rates, success rates are hardly 5%, like shocking for me as well. I thought like 50-60% of them get rehabilitated, but 5 is horribly bad. So guys, all my viewers, be careful about drugs and think of your career. And there are a lot of career options we spoke about, and we really hope that you found this valuable. Please give us your feedback in the comments. to grow the channel and to get valuable content to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
On the show.
Thank you, sir.